Hello, this is Dodie from Deliberate Aging. Welcome to my podcast. Has this ever happened to you? You're getting ready to watch a movie that you've been looking forward to for a while. So in preparation, you gather some snacks. Maybe you grab a new bag of pretzels, a pizza, or a whole container of your favorite ice cream, and you put it on the coffee table in front of you, and you start the movie. The movie lives up to the expectations, and it grabs your attention right from the start. You're thoroughly enjoying it. So 1.5 to 2 hours later, the movie's over, and you look down at your coffee table, and you notice that all the food that was sitting there previously is gone. So where did it go? Obviously you ate it, but you ate the whole thing. The whole bag of pretzels, the entire pizza, the entire carton of Ben & Jerry's, whatever it was, you consumed the whole thing. So come on, has anybody ever done this? Be honest. I can't be the only one. So what actually happened in this scenario? You were totally focused on the movie and you were enjoying it. The food you ate is a totally different story. You were mindlessly shoveling the food into your mouth and you didn't pay attention to it. So you didn't enjoy it as much as you could have, and chances are pretty good that the quantity that you consumed was way too much. Actually, that's what the experts tell us. When we eat mindlessly, we don't get full enjoyment out of our food and we eat too much. This situation is very common. I find myself in situations where I mindlessly eat without paying attention frequently. So let's think about this. When this happens, do we really get enjoyment for the food? Were we fully aware? Did we overeat and not notice the signals that our stomach was sending to us, saying that it was full and that we should stop? This is a really great example of mindless eating. Let's look at an alternative scenario. Imagine the same starting scene. You're sitting down with your favorite snack, but this time you're sitting at a table. The snack is in front of you, and there's no distractions. You turn off the TV, you put your phone on Do Not Disturb. It's just you at the table with your snack. And imagine slowly savoring the food, enjoying the taste and the texture with every bite. What do you think would happen here? Do you think this experience would be different? Well, of course it would. You would enjoy the food more. Maybe you'd consume less. Experts actually say that we would eat less when we practice mindful eating. And they claim that eating slower is better for our digestive system. So this experience is totally different than the first scenario. So why is it so hard for us to slow down and eat mindfully? Mindful eating is where you make a conscious choice of what to eat and how much to eat. You're fully present to the experience of eating, so you get maximum enjoyment out of it. So let's imagine another scenario. Say you follow a healthy eating plan on most days of the week, and you allow yourself one cheat meal per week. And you get to choose how you experience this cheat meal. Do you want to zone out and mindlessly shovel the food into your mouth for your weekly treat? Or would you prefer to linger over your treat and fully luxuriate in the experience? I know which scenario I'd choose, and I'm betting that you are the same. Let me restate. Mindful eating is where you make a conscious choice of what to eat and how much to eat. And you're intentional about it. You're present to the experience. So there are times when I intentionally choose to have unhealthy food. Say maybe I'm at a wedding and I want to indulge in champagne and cake. As long as I make the choice intentionally and I eat to savor the food instead of mindlessly devouring it, this is still mindful eating. So let me be clear. Mindful eating does not mean that you always choose the healthiest options. It simply means that you are consciously in control. You don't let habits or other people influence your choices. So there are times when we choose to eat the so-called forbidden foods. Life would be no fun if we didn't splurge every once in a while, right? There are times when we celebrate, and food is a big part of this. Just think of Thanksgiving, birthdays, graduation parties, weddings. These are events where we should celebrate and splurge a bit. I once went to a workshop where the topic was mindfulness, and at one point we specifically focused on mindful eating, since this tends to be an area where people are typically not mindful. The instructor gave us a small piece of chocolate, and I mean small. It wasn't more than 1 inch by 1 inch square. We were asked to be mindful and not consume this tiny piece of chocolate in our normal way. The entire experience lasted 10 minutes, so let me describe what we did. She asked us to use all of our 5 senses, the sense of sight, smell, touch, hearing, and taste. So, we looked at the chocolate. We noticed the color, the sheen. Did the top look differently than the sides? We brought it to our nose and we smelled it. We touched it and noticed if it was smooth or textured. How much did it weigh? Was it light? Was it heavy? Then she finally asked us to break off a small piece, and we noticed the sound it made as we broke it off. At this point, we got a different perspective on the inside of the chocolate, so again we looked at it. Did the inside look different than the outside? We smelled it again. Did the scent become stronger now that we broke off a piece? And we touched it again. Maybe the once smooth piece was a bit rougher since it was broken. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, she asked us to put the small piece into our mouth, but we were instructed not to chew it. We put the chocolate into our mouth and once again noticed things like the feel of the chocolate in our mouth. Did the feeling stay the same, or did it start out as one hard piece and gradually change as it melted? Was it smooth enough that we only needed to let it melt, or was there some texture, maybe because it contained nuts or coconut, that would require chewing? And finally, what did it taste like? And did the taste change as it started to melt and stayed in our mouth longer? So finally, at this point, we were told that we could chew the piece if it required chewing. And so, of course, if it contained nuts or coconut, we had to chew it. And this was a time when we could use our sense of hearing again. What does it sound like to chew? What does it feel like in our mouth as we chew? This exercise was very interesting, and I realized that the enjoyment I got from that small piece of chocolate was much greater than the enjoyment I get out of my normal way of eating. Normally, I would have finished off that piece very quickly and then grabbed for another one. I would not have used any of my senses except for the sense of taste. But in this exercise, I was content with only one small 1 inch by 1 inch square of chocolate. This was a real eye-opener for me. How many of us get in trouble because of overeating? What if we could slow down and be mindful? Could this have a positive impact on our health? I strongly believe that it can, but I'll be honest, mindful eating is hard to do on a daily basis, so I only do it sporadically. For example, when I have a short lunch break during my workday, I eat quickly, don't get much enjoyment from my food. My sole purpose is to refuel quickly before heading back to my desk. So when I'm not rushed, say Friday night date night with my husband, I intentionally try to slow down and be mindful. Last night, for example, I took my son out to his favorite restaurant for his birthday. I had a beautiful piece of salmon and sautéed green beans. I ate slowly and enjoyed the company of my family as we had a lovely dinner together. We talked, we laughed, we had a birthday toast for my son, and we didn't overeat. So your takeaway assignment for this week is to try the 5-minute chocolate challenge and let me know how it goes. When you try this experiment, use a food that you like to have the most impact. So if chocolate isn't your thing, then use something different. I personally have done this exercise twice, once with chocolate and the other time we used raisins. And I found the chocolate exercise more impactful because I like chocolate more than I like raisins. So pick a food that you really enjoy. Now the assignment is to slow down and be mindful of your eating, trying to incorporate all of your senses and take your time. Can you make the experience last 5 minutes or even longer? Use a timer, don't just guess, and see how much time it actually takes. Give it a try, and when you're done, spend some time to think about this experience. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Is this an entirely foreign way of eating to you? Do you want to try to do this more often? Just to be honest, when I took the workshop and we did the chocolate challenge, there were some participants who didn't listen to the instructor, or maybe they just couldn't slow down their habitual way of eating, and they put the whole thing into their mouths at once and had finished off the chocolate in less than 5 seconds. So if this happens to you, know that you are not alone. Habits are hard to break. Spend the time to think about what happened, remember knowledge is power, and try again. Just to recap what the experts tell us about slow, mindful eating is this, that eating slowly and chewing more is better for our digestion. Mindful eating allows our brain to tell us when it's had enough so we can reduce the chances of overeating, and we're more satisfied with our meals when we consume them mindfully. We get more enjoyment out of our food. Mindful eating requires that we do some investigation into our own eating habits and triggers. Personally, I know that my weakness is chocolate, so I rarely have it in the house. Around the holidays, I'll occasionally put out a candy dish with those red and green colored M&Ms that are only around in December. This is dangerous for me because every time I pass the candy dish, even though most times I'm not hungry, I'll reach in and grab a few. By the end of the day, the dish is empty. This is my trigger. If I can see a food, I want to eat it. So I try, and the key word here is try because I'm not perfect. I try to keep only healthy food in plain sight. So I have a fruit basket on my counter most days instead of a candy dish. You need to do some investigation to figure out your own triggers. Maybe it's the smell of walking by your favorite bakery that you can't resist. Smell is a powerful motivator when it comes to food choices. Or maybe it's the Burger King commercial on TV that you see. Whenever you see it, you're moved to getting in the car or using something like Uber Eats and picking up a Whopper. Vision is also a powerful motivator. So you can see how I'm tying in our 7 senses like I did with the 5-minute chocolate challenge. Our senses highly motivate us, so let's use them to our advantage and try eating mindfully. I plan on doing this challenge again, and I'll post my thoughts on Facebook. I hope you'll do this too. Good luck with the assignment. Send me your feedback on my Facebook page and let me know what you thought of this. Thanks for listening. This is Dodie from Deliberate Aging. Until next time, be well, friends. This podcast is presented solely for informational and educational purposes only. Use of information from this podcast is at the user's own risk. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of your physician or other qualified professional. We are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from use of this podcast.